Here, the topic which seems to be very much doable, I would say topic number 4. What is the core meaning of this topic? Through this approach, you can at least think of 20, 25, 30 good points on any given topic. That economic adversity can stimulate innovation. So we can talk about the LPG reforms of 1991, right? The severe BOP crisis that India faced, and that led to the LPG reforms of 1991, and from there onwards, Indian economy has been doing very well, right? So that's a good example. When two elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. So here, what is the meaning of elephants? Hello friends, welcome to Drishti IAS paper discussion of UPSC Mains 2026. Myself Abhishek Mishra, and I'll be discussing the recently concluded essay paper of UPSC Mains 2026. So let us start with the essay paper discussion. Now UPSC for the last 4 or 5 years has shifted the essay paper towards asking more philosophical or abstract essays. So let us have a look at the question paper, and then we can look at how we can attempt the questions. So in the UPSC essay paper, we get total 8 topics divided into 2 sections, section A and section B. In section A, we have 4 topics, and section B also we have 4 topics. We have to select one essay or one essay topic each from both the sections, and we have to write an essay in around 1000 to 1200 words. Right. So that is the task that we have in the essay paper. And what does UPSC want in our essay? So basically there are 4 things which should be there in our essay which can help us in fetching good marks. So one is the breadth. Now what do we mean by breadth? So breadth basically means here the multiple dimensions that we can explore, right? So it is basically about exploring multiple dimensions of any given topic. Right. So for this we can maybe explore the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal, and so on. These dimensions we can explore. This gives breadth to our essay. Next is depth. Depth to an essay comes from the relevant examples. So we have to use relevant examples. So if we are stating something, then it helps if we can give the relevant example which can make what we are stating more concrete for the examiner to perceive. Then we have to be very careful in the essay that the essay must be balanced. So we have to make sure that we are also giving counter arguments. Even if the essay topic is one-sided, we have to make sure that we are giving a counter argument as well. So balance. So it will be basically looking at both sides of an issue. Any issue. And finally, we come to flow. Flow basically means that the essay should read like a story, a narrative. It should not be haphazard. That means something we are saying in the first paragraph, and then suddenly we are moving to some other concept or topic. So there should be a flow, and it should be logically connected. So there should be logical connection between the paragraphs to maintain a narrative. So this is what we need to keep in mind, and once we maintain the breadth, depth, balance and flow in our essay, then we can fetch decent marks in the essay paper. Now what are the steps that we need to follow? So these are the basic steps that we need to follow. When the question paper is given to us, then the first and foremost task, and very important one, is to select the 2 topics that we will write the essay. So sometimes it is very difficult, and we have to use all the tricks that we have. For example, we have to eliminate those topics which are not very clear then we can eliminate those topics where we may not be able to think of sufficient number of points. Or if there's a topic where we are very comfortable, then we should definitely select that topic. So any topic with which we are comfortable, we can think multiple dimensions about that topic, that should be our choice for writing essay. So selection of topic is very, very critical. After that comes the next part, which is brainstorming on that topic. So we'll select 2 essays and then we have to brainstorm. So brainstorming is again very important because this will give us the points on which we will expand our essay. So brainstorming basically means thinking randomly about a topic. So we have to let our mind think freely and jot down whatever points come to our mind. So on a rough page, we can just note down towards the end of our question come answer booklet. We can just write it with a pencil and later on we can erase it. So we have to do brainstorming for both the essays. We have to come up with the relevant points. Once we are ready with at least 30-40 points for both the essays, then we need to rearrange the points in a particular structure. So that will give us the third step, which is rearranging the points and forming a structure of the essay. That means which points will go in the introduction, which points will come in the conclusion, and which points will form the various paragraphs in the body of the essay. After that, what we should do is we should write a rough introduction and conclusion. Why this is important? Because sometimes if we start writing directly the introduction or conclusion, then sometimes we may make mistakes, or what will happen that on second reading we may feel that we may write the sentence in a better way. So all those things, it is always better that we write a rough introduction and conclusion towards the end of our question come answer booklet, and later on we just copy it. So that will make sure that when we are writing our introduction and conclusion, it is perfect, and it will also help us to make sure that we are not making any mistakes while writing the introduction and conclusion, because introduction is the first impression that we are making on the examiner and conclusion is the final impression before he is going to award us marks. So both introduction and conclusion are very important. That is why we will roughly write an introduction and conclusion, and later on we can just copy it. Finally, once we are done with these 4 steps, we start writing the full essay. Right? This is how we do it, and we have to write within the specified time limit. Okay. So now let us look at the 2026 paper. So these were the 8 topics that were given by UPSC in 2026 paper, and one must say that these topics were relatively easier as compared to the 2025 paper. Now in section A and section B, 4 topics each are given. So the first topic in section A is oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. Topic number 2 is a grateful mind is very beautiful. Topic number 3 is a thorn is a changed bird. And topic number 4 is when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. Right. So we have to choose one topic from these 4, and here we have to find out which topic appeals to us the most, on which topic we can think of most points, and which topic is also very, very clear in its meaning, so that we do not digress from it, or we may not write an essay which is totally opposite of what has been asked. So that is very, very critical. And here the topic which seems to be very much doable, I would say topic number 4, when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled, and also the topic that a grateful mind is very beautiful. These 2 topics are simpler topics, and 2 and 4 seem to be good choices, but again we have to select or narrow down to one topic. So in that case, maybe I'll go with topic number 4. Similarly, let us look at section B. So in section B, The topic number 5 is nature is the symbol of the spirit. Topic number 6 is a well-educated mind will always have more questions than answers. Topic number 7 is shelving hard decisions is the least ethical course. And topic number 8 is a good leader is one who follows the followers. Again, in this section, topic number 6 seems to be more doable, right? The chances of going wrong are very, very less here. A well-educated mind will always have more questions than answers. We can relate it to various themes, right? And also topic number 7, shelving hard decisions is the least ethical course. This also seems to be good. But if I have to select 2 topics out of these, then my choice will be 4 and 6. In comments, you can also write your choice and the reason for taking or making that choice. Now let me take you through the topics one by one, and basically I'll be discussing the core meaning of the topic and giving you some pointers as to how we can think about the various dimensions which we can explore in the essay. So this topic is about oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. So first of all, we should be clear about the meaning of oxymoron. So oxymoron is basically a figure of speech where we combine 2 opposite sounding words or opposite meaning words, and they enhance or they make a vivid representation of what we want to convey. For example, deafening silence, open secret, act naturally, small crowd, all these are examples of oxymorons, right? What is the core meaning of this topic? It is very important for us to understand the core meaning of a topic given in essay, because then only we can write about it. Because sometimes only the understanding the superficial words will not help. We have to understand the deeper meaning of the topic. So here oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. So basically it is saying that in life also contradictions coexist, right? And they make life what it is. So that is the core meaning. Humans exist, or human existence is full of apparent contradictions that coexist, right? That is the deeper meaning that we need to explore in this essay. For example, we can take an example which will make it clear to you. For example, how the contradictions in society is existing. Now we have society which has progressed. Now we are a modern society, but still there are traces of backwardness. How? So the modern society has smartphones, satellite based communication, artificial intelligence, high GDP, right? All these things show that the society is modern and forward looking. But at the same time, we still have caste discrimination, we have gender inequalities, we have things like honor killing happening, we have practices such as child marriages also happening. So that shows that oxymorons are existing in our society, and it is an example of modern backwardness, right? We are modern in certain ways, but we are also backward in some other ways. So that is what the theme of the essay is all about. Now let us look at how we explore the dimensions. So for exploring dimensions, we can use various techniques. Let me give you an idea that what techniques we generally use. So for exploring or brainstorming, what we are using, the frameworks for brainstorming. So one simple framework is PESTLE. And PESTLE stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental. So for any given topic, we can brainstorm on these dimensions, that how this topic relates to political dimension, how this relates to economic dimension, social dimension, technological dimension, legal dimension, environmental dimension, and so on. Along with this, we can also add whims. So this is for women or gender perspective, historical perspective, then international relation perspective, mythological perspective, and also we can take the sports perspective, right? So these are some of the dimensions how we can explore, right? That helps us in brainstorming and coming up with relevant points. Other than this, the other framework that we can use is what, why, when, where, and how. This can also be applied to various topics. Not every framework will work with every topic, right? But this is how we brainstorm. Another way of doing it can be we look at the topic and its impact at individual level, then at the level of society, then at the level of country or nation, and globally, right? So this is how we can maybe explore a topic. Also, another way of looking at it would be by making it a topic of debate, and we can agree or disagree. So on what points we agree and on what points we disagree. Right. So these are some of the ways in which we can brainstorm on any given topic. Not everything may apply to all the topics, but yes, through this approach you can at least think of 20, 25, 30 good points on any given topic, right? Then this will give us breadth. Finally, what we have to do when we have the dimension, that we have to think of relevant examples also, which will give the essay depth, right? So now let's come back to the topic. We were looking at oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. So here I have tried to use the pestle analysis. So simple pestle analysis, and what are the dimensions we can explore. So for example, in political dimension, power and accountability, we can talk about power and accountability. That power with restraint, right? Power to do what is needed, and we also need to temper it with restraint. So that is again, power with restraint is kind of oxymoron. In economic dimension, we have growth, but it is jobless, right? So growth should create jobs, but what is happening? We are experiencing jobless growth. So that is again an oxymoron. So every dimension you have to relate it to the theme of the essay. Then in social, we can take example of women. Now women are getting empowered, but at the same time women are also facing a lot of disadvantages in the society, right? So they are both empowered as well as constrained. Again an oxymoron. We can give example where women are holding leadership position in various fields of life, but at the same time they are still loaded with the double burden of home and office, right? The child care responsibilities are mostly with the women. So, and they are facing also things like glass ceiling in various offices. So these are examples which through which we can prove this point, that women are both empowered as well as constrained. Then in technology, we can talk about the advancement that has given us now guided missiles, but the people seems to be more misguided, right? So we can talk about things like guided missiles and misguided man, right? We can take example of AI also, how it is helping and what challenges it is throwing at us. Then we come to the legal dimension, where we can talk about unity in diversity, right? So it is not unity in uniformity, but there is unity in diversity. So that is again a kind of oxymoron. Then finally, if we look at environmental context, then we can talk about development and sustainability, right? So development versus sustainability, whereas we have to go for sustainable development, right? So again, it's an oxymoron that if development will happen, obviously there will be harm to the environment. And if we'll decide not to harm the environment, then there will be no development. So we have to find a middle path. So this is the first topic where we have to talk about oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. Again, this should not be our first choice unless you are very much comfortable with this topic. Right. We come to the second topic, which is a grateful mind is very beautiful. Right. So this topic basically, the core meaning of this is that if we are grateful, if we are thankful for whatever we are achieving, then it shows the beauty of our mind. So that is the core theme. That means a grateful mind transforms entitlement into appreciation, success into humility, and adversity into learning. A grateful mind will value contentment, it will value humility, it will strengthen relationships because we'll recognize the contribution of others in our success. It will also make us more resilient, and it will always make us more ethical. These are all the virtues of a grateful mind. And it also basically, the underlying theme is that no person is able to do everything on his or her own, right? It is basically about no man is an island. So we need the help and support of others, and for that we need to be grateful. So that is how we have to connect it into the essay. Right. So now let's look at the pestle analysis and how we can think of some dimensions. So in political dimension, we can talk about a grateful administration. An administration which is grateful, it will uphold the service part in public servant, right? So it will not see itself as the masters of citizens, but rather as servants of the citizens and helping them to enjoy the basic necessities of life, right? So public servants exist to serve citizens. That is the idea. Then in economic dimension, we can explore the idea that a grateful mind will always encourage responsible consumption, right? It will not like to have consumption which goes beyond the needs, right? No wasteful consumption. So it will encourage responsible consumption. Then in social dimension, we can talk about gratitude strengthens relationship, because when we appreciate others for what they have done for us, right, it strengthens our bonds with people. So it strengthens relationships. Then in technological dimension, we can talk about the famous example of Isaac Newton, his famous statement that I have been able to look far because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. So that statement, that standing on the shoulders of giants has allowed me to look far. So that is an example which fits well with the theme of the essay. Next, we can look at the legal dimension, and here we can talk about rights and duties, that a grateful citizen will always not just value their rights but also their duties. So a responsible citizen will always think that rights and duties are two sides of the same coin. Then we come to the environmental dimension, where again we can talk about sustainable development. So in sustainable development, we can say that a grateful mind will always think that the planet is not for ours to exploit. We have borrowed it from future generations, and it is our responsibility that we hand it over to them in good condition. So that idea can be explored in this environmental dimension of this topic, right? So this is how we can explore multiple dimensions. Next topic was a thorn is a changed bird, right? A thorn is a changed bird. Now again, this topic is like it needs you to be very clear about the meaning, what exactly it is meaning. So what is a bud? We need to understand. So a bud is a small undeveloped shoot on a plant that holds the potential to grow into a leaf, flower, stem or even thorn. Right. So it is the circumstances which transform a bud into a thorn. Right. So that is the core idea of this topic. But at the same time, we should not always see it that all the circumstances will turn something or turn a bud into a thorn only, and even thorn has its utility, right? It protects the plant also. So we have to look at all sides to make our essay more balanced. So the theme basically suggests that circumstances can transform the nature of things. Something beautiful may become defensive or harsh because of its environment or experiences, right? That is the core theme which we need to explore in this essay. And what is the meaning of bud and thorn? That also should be clear. So bud here means beauty and potential, hope and growth, gentleness and innocence, possibility of blossoming. That is the meaning of bud in this theme. Whereas thorn means pain and hardship, protection and resistance, difficult experiences, harsh realities of life. Once we are clear about this, then we can explore the topic in a better way. Now let's look at the pestle analysis of this. So in pestle, we can see that in political dimension, we can say that poorly designed policies can create unintended effects. So that's a thorn, right? Poorly designed policies can have unintended consequences. Now here, if we can give some good example that where things backfired, where some policy was there, but then it was having a negative impact, so it was changed, modified. Then in economics, we can say that economic adversity can stimulate innovation. So we can talk about the LPG reforms of 1991, right? The severe BOP crisis that India faced, and that led to the LPG reforms of 1991, and from there onwards, Indian economy has been doing very well, right? So that's a good example. And once we give relevant example, it helps us to bring depth into our essay, because we have to ultimately write around 1000-1200 words. So that will come only with the relevant examples and when we will give depth to the various dimensions. Social. In social dimension, we can talk about the transformation of marginalized sections that has happened through their access to education, constitutional rights and affirmative actions by the governments. So here we can again give examples of some vulnerable communities and how various steps have changed or transformed their lives. Then in technological dimension, we can talk about AI, artificial intelligence. It can be seen both as a bud and as a thorn. So in bud, where it is increasing the potentialities, where it is helping us in doing the task faster and in a better way, but it is also acting as a thorn, where it is displacing jobs, where it is creating problems for various individuals, maybe in the case of AI generated deep fakes and other things, right? So we can again explore this idea of AI both as a bud and as a thorn. Then if we look at the legal dimension, so we can talk about the living tree view of Indian Constitution, that Indian Constitution is not static, it is transforming, right? So it always transforms, and the experience, the demands of people, right, that is helping the Constitution to grow and transform itself, right? So we can talk about the living tree view of Indian Constitution. And in environmental dimension, we can talk about thorns, protecting plants from herbivores animals, then also from harsh environment, right? So it is serving an adaptive function also. That is true in life also, right? Sometimes the harsh experiences, they help us to become stronger, more robust to face adversity in life. It is said that tough times, they create tough individuals, and easy times, they create soft individuals, right? So that quotation can also be used. And also an example of climate change can be given, where also this is a problem, this is a thorn. And what is the solution that we are looking for? The green transition, the transition towards green sources of energy, right? So this is how we can explore various dimensions of this topic. A thorn is a changed bird. Next, the topic where we can actually will be more comfortable in coming up with various dimensions, that is the topic number 4 in section A. When two elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. So here, what is the meaning of elephants? So elephants basically means powerful actors. They can be countries, political groups, corporations, institutions, etc., who are powerful, right? And fight means rivalry, competition, conflict, and grass basically means the ordinary people, the weaker states or vulnerable sections of society, right, who are at the receiving end. They are not involved in the fight, but they are part of the collateral damage. So that is the core meaning of this essay. Right, now let's look at the pestle analysis for this. So in political, we can talk about the great power rivalry that we are seeing between US and China, right? So that's a very good example and we can build on that. Secondly, we can talk about the center state conflicts also within India. So sometimes the central government and the state government, they are not on the same page regarding certain issues. For example, we can talk about even the governor issue, or maybe the Tamil Nadu government which was not implementing the PM Rise scheme in Tamil Nadu, right? So such examples can be given, or maybe even the issue over the 3-language formula, right, and its implementation, or the NEP issue, right, the new education policy. So that shows that the center state conflict can sometimes lead to policy paralysis, and it ultimately affects the citizens adversely who have nothing to do with it, right, but they get trampled as does the grass when two elephants fight. In the economic dimension, we can talk about the trade wars, where when two countries are having trade wars, right, who suffers? The consumers. They have to pay a higher price. Exporters, their exports get reduced, and the workers, right, they may lose their jobs. So that is the fallout for the vulnerable sections in this case also. Then in social dimension, we can talk about the caste conflicts and communal polarization. So whenever there is this kind of caste conflict or communal polarization happening, again the dominant sections of society, they may be indulging in it, but the people who suffer the most are coming from the weaker section, right? People who are at the margins of the society, they suffer the most. Then in technological dimension, we can talk about the weaponization of trade, weaponization of technology that is happening these days, and countries are not allowing the export of critical minerals or semiconductors to different countries, right? So that is also a problem. When the countries are fighting with each other for dominance, it is the industry workers, it is the common people who are suffering. Next, we can have the legal dimension, where we can talk about state, right? So whenever there is a conflict between the state or between two states, sometimes the citizens, they get trampled, their rights get trampled, right? For that, we have fundamental rights which protect individuals against arbitrary use of state power. Then finally, in the environmental dimension, we can again talk about climate change impacting the countries of global south the most, right? Global south here is like a grass, and the developed countries are like the elephants, right? So they have basically created the problem of climate change, but who is getting trampled? The developing countries, right? The countries of global south. So this is how we can explore this topic, and we can see that this topic will have more number of points, right? It is easier to connect it with various things that we can see at the individual level, society level, national level, global level. So that approach can also be used here, right? But everywhere we also need to maintain the balance. So we also need to look at the counterpoint. Okay. So some examples we can use here. For example, war between two countries. So ordinary civilians suffer the most. They face loss of livelihoods, displaced from their homes. They face high inflation. They face food shortages, etc. In case of Cold War between US and USSR, so what was happening? There were proxy wars between these two blocks, and the proxy wars, the sufferers were mostly the countries of third world like Vietnam, Afghanistan. They faced a lot of destruction because of their involvement in the proxy wars which was being fought by US and USSR. Then we can give example of center state rivalry. So denial of funds by center, and sometimes states are not implementing the central schemes. So this is again an example we can explore in this topic. Right. Now we come to section B. So section A, the elephant topic is I think the better topic, because we will have more dimensions to explore and more content for the essay. Now in section B, the first topic is or topic number 5 is nature is the symbol of the spirit. So again it has a deeper meaning, right? And sometimes the deeper meaning may be difficult to grasp. So it basically means that nature is not merely the physical environment surrounding human beings. It is a mirror of the human spirit, a source of spiritual wisdom, a symbol of resilience and interconnectedness, and a foundation of human civilization. So that is the core meaning. Sometimes we see nature and we can learn so many things from the nature, right? For example, nature reflects the qualities that the human spirit aspires to. For example, resilience, balance, diversity, interdependence, renewal, harmony, all of these qualities we can see around us in the nature. For example, mountains, they show us steadfastness, rivers, continuous movement, trees, selfless giving, flowers, beauty and impermanence, ocean, depth and vastness, and sun, enlightenment. So these things we learn from the nature, right? And this is what the human spirit strives for. Right, here we can explore it like this. In political, we can talk about movements like Chipko movement for protection of environment, right? We can fit this example into the theme of the essay. In economic dimension, we can say that every economy depends upon natural systems, right? So be it agriculture, be it industries, so everywhere the raw material is coming from the nature itself. Then social, nature provides resources to everyone equally, right? It doesn't discriminate that it will give less oxygen to the poor person and more oxygen to the rich person. It is not like that. The sunlight, the air, everything is common for everyone. Then in technological dimension, we can explore that technology can help us to monitor forests, oceans, pollution, etc. And technology is also learning from the nature, right? So many things are being designed by looking at nature, right? So we look at the nature and the scientists are designing things. It is known as biomimicry, right? So we are trying to mimic how the nature is operating. Then in terms of legal, we can talk about the evolution of various environmental laws, the environmental jurisprudence, the precautionary principle, right? And the various things which have been done to protect the environment. So that can also be explored here. Finally, we can also talk about the circular economy, right, which seeks to imitate nature. So circular economy, we want to reduce waste, and we can see that in nature also everything is like whatever is input for one stage becomes the output for the next stage, or the output of one stage becomes the input for the next stage. So how it is, everything is getting circulated in the nature. So that we can learn from and use in the circular economy. Right, some examples which we can use here in this topic, because it's about nature. So maybe the Chipko movement, Then the Bishnoi community's love for the nature and its protection. Gandhiji and his famous quote that the earth has enough for everybody's needs, but not enough for any person's greed. Right, so that quotation can be used. Then circular economy example we can use. We can also talk about climate change in this topic. But again, this will not be the first choice essay to be written about. Now in this section, this is the essay where you will have, or this is the topic where you will have more ideas and it will be easier to write. And a well educated mind will have more questions than answers. Right. So what is the meaning of this essay? The meaning is very clear by reading it only, but it means that the essence of true education is that education should not merely fill the mind with information. Rather, it should develop curiosity, critical thinking, and the courage to question established assumptions. That is what is true education. That it should develop critical thinking, it should initiate curiosity, and it should encourage, or it should give us the courage to question assumptions, because that is how we become better. Right. So here also we can use the pestle dimension, but before that let's look at this. So a narrow education produces a person who knows many answers, but a deeper education makes a person aware of how much remains unknown. Right. So that is what we need to explore in this essay. And Socrates has said this, I know that I know nothing. Right. So again we can use this quotation also. Various dimensions we can explore here. Political dimension, democracy requires power to question government, or it requires people to question government, right? So democracy operates like that only. And opposition, the role of opposition is to question the government, right? So that is that we have to ask the relevant questions. Then in economic dimension, entrepreneurship is questioning status quo. So how the new companies come up, right? The startups. So they are questioning how things have been done so far, and they are bringing some disruption into the sectors. So entrepreneurship is questioning status quo. Social dimension, we can talk about social reforms begin with questioning customs. For example, sati was questioned, then it was banned as a practice. Technological dimension, scientific progress is based on questioning assumptions. Scientific temper is all about asking the right questions. Then in legal dimension, justice is delivered by asking questions. So judges, while deciding on cases, they also frame questions, and while the lawyers give them answers to their questions, they are able to decide how to judge or how to give the verdict on that particular case. So justice also depends on asking the right questions. And finally, environmental dimension, we can talk about climate change. The climate change, or the impact of climate change, has made us question the developmental model, right? So we are asking the questions that whether we need development without the protection of environment. So the answer is no. So we need sustainable development only, right? So that has also happened by asking questions. So again we can see that certain topics, it is easier for us to relate and easier for us to think about various dimensions, right? So this is just a sample, and you can explore various other dimensions also, as I have told you in the framework. Now we come to the next topic, which is topic number 7. Shelving hard decisions is the least ethical course. Shelving means not taking, right, or putting off taking, avoiding the hard decisions. So it means that avoiding a difficult decision is itself a decision, and often an unethical one, when delay prolongs suffering, uncertainty, or injustice, right? Not deciding is often deciding in favor of the status quo. That is also we can write. This is the core meaning of this topic. Again, this is a doable topic, and a lot of things can be written under this. Now, looking at the pestle analysis, in political dimension, we can say that governance requires taking tough decisions, right? For example, Operation Sindoor, it was a tough decision that the government took, because government wanted to indicate to Pakistan that India is now going to follow a policy of zero tolerance against cross-border terrorism, and for any such terror activity, there will be a decisive action from India, right? So we can say that it was a hard decision which the government took for the long-term benefit. Then in economics, we can write that economic reforms often lead to short-term pain for long-term gains, and there also we can give the example of LPG reforms of 1991. They were forced upon us. We had to take a tough decision because of the BOP crisis, balance of payment crisis, and we came out in flying colors. Then in social dimension, we can say that delayed action can magnify a crisis. This we can see in various cases, right? For example, if we are not vigilant against child marriages, then it will lead to social problems, right? Similarly, if we will not be vigilant about various other social evils, so it may lead to more problems later on. Then in technological dimension, we can talk about AI regulation. Again, it is very much needed, right? And we will have to take hard decisions, because AI, if left totally unregulated, it can cause more harm than good. But again, if we regulate it too much, then the innovation will also stop. So we have to find a middle ground, and here we can use things like a regulatory sandbox approach. That means within a given environment, we can allow AI to innovate, right? But because it will be under a protected environment only, so its negative impact, if any, will be limited. So that is what we can suggest. Then in legal dimension, we can say that strong judgments lead to long-term reforms. So this we can see in terms of environment also. This we can also see in terms of various other areas where the court verdicts have actually led to improvement in or long-term reforms in various, for example, the police reforms verdict, right, in the Prakash Singh case. So it has led to some reforms in the policing system also, and similarly we can give other examples. Then environmental dimension. So we can say that disaster management requires authorities to take hard decisions, right? So sometimes when and India is a disaster prone country, so we can give example that the evacuation of people from their homes, etc., is done. So these decisions seem to be hard, but they are for the long term benefit of the people, and through this approach the government has been able to save lives. So again, this is something which is good. So again, here we can think of a lot of dimensions to explore. I have given you an indicative idea. Lastly, we come to this topic number 8. A good leader is one who follows the followers. Again, a counterintuitive topic, because generally we do not see leadership in this manner. We see leader who leads by example, and not a leader who follows the followers, right? So it is a little bit counterintuitive, and that is why we have to be careful with such topics, because if we will not understand the complexity of this topic, we may end up writing an essay which is actually not what the examiner wants to see, okay, and then we can get very low marks. So we should try to avoid such topics, but still the core meaning is a good leader listens to, understands and learns from the people he or she leads. Right, let's look at the pestle dimension of this. So in political dimension, we can say that good leadership requires understanding people's needs, local realities, etc., and then framing policies. In economic dimension, companies become leaders in their respective sectors by understanding the needs of customers, right? So customers are also like followers for a leader. So when we listen to our followers, then we become better leaders. Then in social dimension, progressive leadership recognizes emerging social consciousness. So sometimes the leaders, they take note of what the society is interested in, right, what the followers are interested in, and then they lead the movement. Then in technological dimension, we can say that social media enables citizens to communicate directly, and it has reduced the gap between followers and leaders. And now the leaders can also follow their followers, right? So that has been enabled by social media. In technological dimension, we have seen the social media example. In legal dimension, again we can see that the judges, they also look up to the bar, the lawyers, right, for various improvements, suggestion, how to improve the functioning of the court, etc. So they are not working in silos, that they are judges and they will only order. No, they are also learning from the bar. And similarly, we can see it in every field. So it is the same equation that is between the government and the citizens. It is the same equation that is between the teacher and the students, and so on, right? So everywhere it is the two-way learning that is happening, and which leads to best leadership. Finally, in environmental dimension, we can talk about the countries of global south, which are most vulnerable to climate change, and they are now leading the fight against the climate change impact. So the countries which are vulnerable, now they are or their examples are being taken by the countries which are leading the fight against climate change. For example, for the developing countries or the global south, China and India are two leaders, but they are also looking up at the what the other smaller small island developing states are doing to protect their environment, and they are taking their lead. So this way we can explore this topic. But again, the final thing that I would like to suggest here is that we have discussed all the 8 dimensions, but if given a choice, then we have to look for topics which are very, very direct in their meaning, which are easy to comprehend, where we can think of multiple dimensions. And the 2 topics which are, I think, very doable in this paper are topic number 4. When two elephants fight, it is a grass that gets trampled. Topic number 2, a grateful mind is very beautiful. These two from section A. And a well-educated mind will always have more questions than answer. Topic 6. And shelving hard decisions is the least ethical course. So 2, 4 and 6, 7. These are my choices for writing an essay in this paper. I hope you would have learned something about how to analyze and how to brainstorm on essay topics from this video. We'll see you again with some more such topics. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.